you with a brand new video today. We're going to be talking about the meta as a whole, and we're going to be diagnosing some of the problems, well, not really the problems with the meta, but more or less of what's going on in the meta overall for those of you who are uninformed or unfamiliar. And I kind of want to discuss what might actually change. So without any further ado, we're gonna have a little bit to discuss. So let's just jump right into it. So overall, this format has relatively been the most diverse format, I should say, that I've seen in a while. We've seen a lot of different decks, top 32, and we've even seen some very unique decks in the top 8 as well. We've seen some decks like Magic Specters. We've even seen a Ritual Beast top 7 and get 7th place recently at a regionals as well. So it's really really interesting to see all these different decks too. It's really interesting to see all these decks topping. But what at the foundation is the core decks? What are the top 3 or 4 decks, even 5 decks that are possibly in the running slot? So the obvious candidates are Blue Eyes are the Blue Eyes deck and PK Fire. That's right. Both of these decks are fantastic. They have really resounding matchups against every other deck in the format. But we also have joining them with Mermails with their OTK, as well as Heroes, who are still relatively good, despite all the hindrances that the deck has suffered over the past few months. With Cosmos kind of just with everything else just basically speeding them. I think this is a bit slower of a format. For the most part, I think the fastest deck currently is only Mermails because of the OTK. We also have Metaphos, and we have also a really interesting candidate that is Dark Synchros. I know nothing about this deck other than the fact that it's called Dark Synchros. I haven't seen a single deck list of this yet, but it is a very interesting thing to see. We've even seen Shiranui top, by the way, also, but that's not meta. But at its very core, these 5 decks right here are basically going to be it for a while until ABC Dragon makes its way. Or 6 decks, excuse me. So we might see a shift. We might see some of these decks fall off. We might see PK Fire or Heroes or Dark Synchros fall off the meta. We might see Mermails fall off the meta. But I think that for the most part, the meta is still relatively undefined. I really don't like saying that, but for the most part, I think that you can play almost anything that is relatively decent. They can keep up with the meta and still do relatively nicely. But however, we have seen some really rare exceptions. We've seen some really cool exceptions. Like I said, we've seen Shiranui top. There's a zombie deck that topped first. One of my friends topped with a Nurse Burn deck. He got 49th place or whatever, or not 49th. What is it? You got 47th place because it was a 48 regionals. 48 top 48. We also seen Ignite's top. We've seen Buster Bladers do a little bit. We've seen PSY-Frames get 12th, and we've seen Raid Raptors get 9th place. So it's really up in the air as to what is really defined, what will fill out those 32 spots. Because even though the top 8 is relatively the most important slots to fill, I feel like the top 32 will make the bulk of what is considered to be good. So, for example, let's say in the next few months, Metaphos is the best deck definitively. Metaphos should statistically make up most of the 32 spots, if not at least half, at least above half. So, at 51%, Metaphos is the best deck, and that means everything else is just subpar or not in the same league as Metaphos, but but they take up the most spice because it is the most statistically viable. That being said, that's not saying that something like Blue Eyes or Mermails could come along and still top. It just means that it is less likely for them to top because Metaphos is it would be the definitive deck at that point. I feel as though that for the most part, and this is gonna be my prediction. I could be very wrong. As I said, this is simply a prediction. I feel as though that in the future, Dark Synchro as well as Mermails might be squeezed out of the meta just a bit, or just a little bit. That doesn't mean they can't top, like I said, but I feel like that these two are the weakest links in the meta right now, and it will seem to be. It'll be based on what the ABC Dragon deck does. If the ABC Dragon actually ends up flopping, then the meta might stay relatively unchanged. I don't think that's going to happen though. So that's it is what it is. So anyway, guys, tell me what you guys think about this meta, about the meta overall as of right now. Again, everything in this is subject to change. Everything in this right now is still based on my opinion, but statistically, but it is not. But it is based on statistics for the most part. So anyway, guys, this has been Team Metamorphos. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below about the meta overall as it is. So. Anyway, guys, this has been Team Metamorphos, and I'm signing out. I've mentioned this. My name is for the third time.